StrayAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we are picking up on our series, continuing our series of how to build relationships in business. This is going to be part 4 of what is going to be a 5-part series. Is this part 4 or part 3? Maybe part 3, let me make sure. No, actually it's part 4 of what is going to be a 5-part series. So before we get into this, I remind you all of 2 things. First of all, my daily motivation and Monday motivation messages, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point every single day or week to start your day or week respectively. All you got to do to receive it is be a member of my texting community. It is free to join. Text me at my number 305-384-6894. Numbers down below in the description. Secondly, and that's once we start sending the message out again. So if you text me, don't get a response because we haven't reactivated the messages yet, but we will. That's why we keep telling you. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is where you can have me as your direct coach. The most important thing, have access to me on a consistent basis and let me help you, walk you through what you are doing personally and professionally, get your life where you want it to be, structured, organized, systematized, and the mindset most importantly, and do the exact same thing when it comes to your professional life. Structured, organized, systematized, and executed on. That is all happening at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link in the description of this episode. With that out the way, let's get into the topic here. Again, we are picking up on where we left off, so I don't need to give too much of a background on this. This is how to build relationships in business, which is very important for all of you. As I've told you, you can get more done through other people than you will ever get done on your own. So let's pick up on point number 10. Follow up consistently. If you want to build relationships in business and to maintain your relationships, we've already touched on this a little bit in earlier installments of this series. You want to have a consistent follow-up, whether you are remembering to follow up with people or you have a system to do it. Either way, it needs to be happening. I would suggest you use a system because it's easier to keep up with a system than it is to simply remember stuff, because your memory may fail you at times, but a system does not fail unless the system was poorly set up in the first place. So we already understand that relationships die when there is no active connection between people. In other words, when people stop talking to each other, relationships fall apart because there's no open communication. And this applies in business with your customers and clients the same way it applies in non-business situations with your friends and peers. You need to consistently stay in touch with the people you have relationships with to make sure that they remember that you exist, first of all. Remember who you are, what you can do for them, and to make sure they stay up to date with what you're doing and you stay up to date with what they are doing, because they may be doing something now that they weren't doing 6 months ago that you could actually help with, or they may have an idea now that you know about it, it could help you and help you move forward. So people have things change in their lives all the time. I've been in business long enough to see people go through different shifts and different phases of their lives and of their careers as they change careers, change industries, change what they're doing, change thoughts, change all different types of things, whether it become changing, again, careers, industries, jobs. They have a new initiative going on in their business. And if you stay in touch with people often, you will learn about the things that they are doing that they weren't doing the last time that you talked to them. And again, I gave you the example of a friend of mine who was in a coaching program. I didn't know she was in the program. I joined the program, and then I saw her name on one of the emails, and I said, "Hey, are you in such and such coaching program?" She said, "Yeah, I'm in that coaching program." She said, "You should join it." I said, "I already joined." And she said, "Damn, I missed out on the referral bonus." And as I told you, it was a pretty big bonus that she missed out on. Would have paid a lot of bills. And she didn't get it simply because she hadn't stayed in touch with me, and I hadn't stayed in touch with her either. Maybe she would have told me about the program earlier. Maybe I would have joined sooner. So we both lost by not staying in touch as much as we should have. So if you stay in touch with people more often, again, you'll find out what they have going on and maybe some way that you could get involved or help if only you had known what was happening. So this is the reason why follow-up matters so much. This is why staying in touch matters so much on a regular basis with anyone that you know. Because again, as people go through changes, and you also, just think about you 6 months ago, what were you working on and what are you working on now, or last year or 5 years ago? And people who you haven't talked to since then, they may have been able to help or been benefited from something that you were doing over the last 6 months or year or 5 years if they had stayed in touch with you. But because they haven't, and because you haven't also, neither of you is getting any benefit from the situation. So again, quality relationships with quality people, make sure you maintain them by staying in touch. Point number 11, today's topic, once again, we are on our series, continuing our series of how to build relationships in business. Number 11, add something that other people want or need. Again, as I told you, relationships are not to be transactional, where it's just about what you can get, and hopefully no one you have a relationship with is only thinking about what they can get. But at the same time, you want to be in a position to make a transaction if you need to or you desire to. Right? And sometimes it doesn't have to be need, it can just be because you want to. And to make a transaction, that means you have to bring something to the table, and whoever you're transacting with, they must bring something to the table. So a simple version of a transaction is, if I'm selling hot dogs for $2, I bring the hot dogs, you bring $2. All right? I get something, you get something. That's an exchange. But if I don't have anything, I could want your $2, but I can't get it because I don't have anything to offer you in exchange for the $2. So my ability to make a transaction is based on my ability to offer you something that you want, that you are willing to give up your $2 in order to get. So I have to bring something to the table. In other words, be in position to make a transaction just in case an opportunity for a transaction presents itself. All right, that's what transactional is. So you want to build relationships with other people. Understand that all human beings are driven by self-interest. No matter how much of a giver you may be, no matter how charitable you are with your donations, every human being is driven by self-interest. Even people who give charitably are giving because it serves your self-interest to give. Whether you're doing it for the tax write-off, you're doing it because it makes you feel good, you're doing it because you're calling the local TV network so they see you doing it, so it makes you look good. No one does something for nothing. All right. Everyone gets something from everything that they do, even if what they get is just a feeling. All right. Giving charitably gives you a positive feeling. All right. Nobody does something just for no reason whatsoever. So show people something that you have, that you know, or that you can do that is useful or beneficial to them, and that will help them want to be around you, which is the groundwork for a relationship. All human beings are selfish in this way. Again, even though most people would never outwardly admit this, we all are selfish in this way, as I just explained to you. And you can prove it by simply getting better at showing people how something you have can help them, and see how much more often you get a response than when you just reach out to someone with nothing to offer. There are some people who you know, who you have a relationship with, who you can just reach out to them for no reason at all, and they will engage with you and talk to you and just give you updates on their life, and they'll ask for an update on your life simply because you have a relationship with them in that way. Most people, if you look through your phone contacts, most of the people in your phone contacts, if you reached out to them, you would need a reason to reach out to them. In other words, they're not going to just shoot the shit with you because they don't have that type of relationship with you. There's a transactional type of relationship, not in a negative way, but it's transactional in a way that they're reaching out to you because there's something specific that they want or are offering that they want to talk to you about. I had a guy who I know, he works at a company that had in the past hired me to do some speaking for them. And I did the speaking gig for them. It went good. They said it went great. I felt like it went great. Everything was good. Talked to the people in the audience, all of that. And I didn't speak to this guy again for over a year. We still have a good relationship. If I saw him in the airport or something, I would know him. He would know me. We would talk, and it would all be friendly and great. But we don't have the type of relationship where we are not friends. We know each other. We're cool. We're professionally cool, but we're not friends. Like, we're just calling each other up and talking about our lives or anything like that. We don't have that type of relationship. And what happened about maybe a year and change, maybe 15 months after the last time I had talked to this guy, maybe 16, 17 months, he reached out to me via email and said, hey, we have the same company. We have a different event under the same umbrella happening in a few months. Want to know if you can come be our speaker for that event. And he remembered me because he remembered the good job that I had done on stage. And by the way, in the consulting and speaking world, the way you know that you did a good job is not by how many people want to shake your hand or after you're done or want to take a picture with you, or how many people clap for you when you're done speaking. It's, do you get other business opportunities on the heels of the last one? If you did good at speaking gig number one, then you should be getting opportunities for speaking gig number 2, 3, and 4 based on what you did at number one, meaning somebody in the audience liked you and they want to book you to speak, or the people you spoke for will say, hey, can you come back and do it again? So this guy was that. It was him coming back and saying, hey, can you come back and do it again? Not at the same event, at a different event, because he liked what I did the last time. And when he reached out, we started a conversation. As of this recording, it is still pending because his company moves a little slowly, I would say, for lack of a better description. They move a little slow, so they had to do all this paperwork, and there's a lot of red tape. They had to, well, it seems like a good amount of red tape because it's been a couple weeks since I heard from him, but he said he'll get back to me once they finish going through the red tape. So if and when they do that, then I'll talk to him. Point being that I don't have a relationship with him to where I'm just talking to him for no reason. I'm talking to him when there is a specific reason. And that's why he reached out to me. So some relationships are that way. Some relationships, fewer of your relationships are more like friendly, when you can just talk. You don't even need anything. They don't need anything. You're just talking because you're talking. Those are people you call friends. Other people that you know, many of them in business, usually there's an exchange because you have something to say. Now, on the heels of that, on a note of that, especially for those of you have things to sell, and you are the person who actually does the selling, whether you do it under the umbrella of a company that you work for or it's your stuff as an entrepreneur. One of the reasons why you notice that people who you follow online are often talking about some new thing that they have, some new program or some new challenge or some new event or a new book or a new course. You often see people who are, let's say, influencers / entrepreneurs. They're often talking about some new thing that they have, and they're promoting it to you. And why is this? The reason why they do this is because it gives them an excuse to reach out to you, to tell you about a new thing that they have, and they're making you an offer, which gives you an opportunity to buy and spend money, which is the purpose of them being in business. And you can even have someone, let's say someone like myself, I am consistently reaching out to you, like this show, for example, or you get emails from me, or when we send our messages, our text messages, I'm consistently reaching out to you. And in between those reach outs, I'm letting you know about other things that we have going on. And even then, like if I send emails, I may talk about the same product or service in every email over the course of several weeks. I'm talking about the same product over and over again, but I'm talking about it from different angles and for different reasons. And I'm still reaching out to you by giving you something other than just talking about that, because you might not be interested in that. And even if you are interested and you already bought it, well, you don't need me to keep selling it to you. So I need another reason besides whatever I'm selling to reach out to you, unless I happen to have, whatever number of times I'm going to reach out, that many different offers to make. And technically I do, but I would actually, my thing, and a lot of people do this as well, is all entrepreneurs do it, as a matter of fact, they just do it in different ways, is focus on whatever their core thing is, whatever the core offering is that they want to get you involved in. They may give you different ways to get in the room, but the core thing is still the core thing. They just come up with different reasons to reach out to you, or different entry points for you to get to the same spot. So different entry points might mean, one entry point might be a book. Another entry point might be a free challenge. Another entry point may be a webinar. Another entry point might be a course. Another entry point might be, I'm doing a live event. Another entry point. So there are all these different entry points that you can use, or it might be get this free video where I'm going to explain something over 10 minutes so you understand it. All you got to do is put in your email list. That gets you on my list. You get on the list and I'm going to offer you the core thing, whatever the main thing is that I'm selling. Most entrepreneurs do this. Again, we all do it different ways for different reasons. But almost every entrepreneur I know, as I'm just thinking through it right now in my head while I'm talking, they all have a core offering. Usually people's core offering is some form of, either it's some software that they're trying to get you into, and or it'll be some form of a mastermind, a coaching program, or some type of cohort or community that you can be a part of, usually on the paid level. Almost every entrepreneur I know has something like that. It may not be a thing that they promote out front. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Some people promote theirs all the time. Some people don't tell you about it till you get deeper into their world, but most entrepreneurs I know have that. I'm bringing all this up to say, when you're on someone's email list, for example, and they're always reaching out, they're reaching out and giving you different reasons to pay attention to them, and then they're still trying to offer you the entry point to get deeper into their world. And again, some people have several entry points with several steps to get to the top. Some people may offer just one entry point with one step to get right to where they want to get you to. Neither one is right or wrong. It's just a matter of how you want to design your business. And that's the good thing and the challenge about entrepreneurship, is that you get to decide the entire structure. It's not decided for you. Anyway, let's continue here. And more on point number 11. When you show people that you have something that can help them, and as opposed to just reaching out for no reason, you usually get much more of a response, and you probably reach out with more confidence simply because you know you have something to say. And if you reach out to people with nothing to offer, unless you have that type of relationship with them, they will usually maybe ignore you or blow you off simply because they don't see anything transactional that is useful for them. So why do they need to talk to you? So again, you just got to know what level of relationship you have with certain people and accept it for what it is. If you want it to go further, then you might have to show them why they should care, because they might not have the same reasons that you have. Point number 12. We are talking today about how to build and maintain relationships in business. Number 12, personalized communication. This is an important one in the world that we're in now, where it is so easy to mass communicate with a bunch of people all at the same time. But mass communication, the challenge in mass communication is that nothing that you send is personal to the individual who is getting it. If you can personalize your communication, that would, first of all, get people to pay more attention and usually get people to respond more if you're asking them to respond, simply because they know the message is personal to them. Now, when I say personalized communication, let me be clear what I'm saying. I'm not saying something that you can fake. So when I say personalized communication, I don't mean that you send an email out to 1,000 people on your email list and then you just put they call it a merge tag. A merge tag means if I say hello, and then I can put a merge tag and it swaps out that tag for your name. So when the email goes to Aaron, it'll say, hi, Aaron. And if the email goes to Mike, it'll say, hello, Mike. If the email goes to Jason, it'll say, hey, hello, Jason. It'll be the same, first word will be the same, the greeting, but it'll swap out the name for each person who gets the email. If I send an email to Ariel, it'll say, hello, Ariel. And to Jessica, it'll say, hello, Jessica. That's not what I mean by personalized communication. People can see through that, and most of us have a general idea that that's still mass communication, even if it has our name in it. That's not what I mean. What I mean by personalized communication is actual personalized communication, meaning if you're going to personalize a message to 1,000 different people, that means you have to craft 1,000 different messages, which might not be possible to do, at least not in one shot. So maybe you might have to do them 10 at a time or 20 at a time or 2 at a time. So when I say personalized, I mean really personalized, like seriously, not faked, not AI software, really personalized. This is one area where AI can't quite do the job yet. And if and when it gets to the point where AI can do this job, I think two things. Number one, it may diminish the value of personalized communication because people will know that AI may have done it. Or B, even when it does become available, I think a lot of people are still not going to do it because I think people are just fucking lazy. And I'm talking about people at your level, people who are the entrepreneurs, the outreachers, the people who are looking to sell, market, and promote themselves. A lot of people are just lazy and they won't do the work or pay the cost, so to speak, and work is a cost, to personalize their communication to people, even when it's available to them or it becomes clear how to do it. I personalize communication to people a lot of times is one of the reasons why I'm able to build as many relationships or at least connections and have associates in the business world that I do because of my ability to personalize communication, which allows me to get people's attention much more effectively than if I was just sending out a generic message, even though the message is pretty much the same. The only difference is I personalize it. It gets a much higher rate of response. And by the way, if you're a member of Work on Your Game University, I will work with you on how exactly to do this in your industry and in your business, how to personalize your messages, which, by the way, you should be doing, especially any of you who does a consistent amount of outreach. You need to be personalizing your communication. The world of cold mass communication is slowly going away. You can still do it and people will still take your stuff in. And let's say if you're a writer, for example, or you're a YouTuber, now you can personalize every video for a single person on YouTube. It's not like every email you send has to be personalized for the reader. You can have 1,000 readers who just want to read your stuff. That's the flip side of this, is you get people to want to read you. You don't have to personalize it for them because it's not about them. It is about them, but it's not. They are listening to you or subscribe to you because they want to hear you. It's not that mass cold communication is going to die, but people like to have messages that are geared specifically towards them, especially when you're in the sales space. If you're selling something, people like to be communicated with on a personal, more intimate level. And that doesn't mean you can't sell stuff through your email list. I'm saying if you're selling something that's, say, a little bit more high ticket, or you're asking for something that is a little bit more high touch, people want that touch. Excuse me. They want to start the communication with that touch. So when you're following up with professional contacts, I would suggest that you provide some context to let them know that you are speaking directly to them, and not just copying and pasting a message and sending it to everyone. There was a time about 8 to 10 years ago when you could just copy and paste the message, and if it was well written enough, the copy pasted messages would work and convert. I got my first few media appearances, at least the ones I went after intentionally, through doing just that. And we're talking 2015, 2016. But in 2024, that does not work nearly as well, simply because there are so many people doing it and there's so many messages being sent out to the world that people simply don't notice it. They just paste right over them. So when you're just copy pasting the messages, it becomes very impersonal, and it will hurt the relationship more than it helps it, if you can even build a relationship. So if you are here, you will understand if this is something that, let me say it this way, you will understand this is something that takes more time than that time is worth the investment when it comes to the value of building relationships. So let me say that more clearly. I just tripped myself up with what I just said. It takes more time to personalize your messages, but the time investment for personalizing your message makes it worth it because of the return on investment on the back end. So you can send a message to 1,000 people with a click of a button in a span of like 1 minute. But if you were to personalize those 1,000 messages, let's say you took 2 or 3 minutes to personalize each message, or 5 minutes even, it might take you an hour to do 5 or 10 messages. Those 5 or 10 will produce a higher return on investment than maybe sending out that 1,000 mass message, depending on what you're saying, depending on who you are and your relationship with the people. So you don't have to do this with every single thing you do. Of course, it's probably not tangibly possible, but you should have some aspects in which you do personalize a message. I'll give you one example. It just happened last week. There's a woman who reached out to us. She went to my assistant's email inbox, and she was inquiring about having Dre come in as a speaker for an event that they have early in 2025. But my assistant replied back to her, and they had an exchange. And then I saw the email because I get CC'd and updated on these things. And I went and found a woman's phone number. I believe it might have been in her email signature line. And I called her directly that same day. And we had a brief conversation. He told me what the situation was and whether it could work or it didn't work. We talked about that for a little bit. And she works at a company where there's committees and they got to talk about this, and we'll come back and circle back, et cetera, et cetera. It was that kind of conversation. And at the end of the conversation, she said, well, Dre, I do have to tell you one thing, that I talk to people's staff and PR agents and assistants all the time. So it really means something different to me that you, actually, the speaker themselves, got on the phone and called me directly. So I want to acknowledge you and appreciate the fact that you did that. And that's what I mean. That's when I say personalized communication. This is what I'm talking about. The more personal you can get, the more you get better chance you give yourself, first of all, to be heard. Second of all, the better chance you're going to be remembered. And that matters in business. All that said, folks, let me recap today's class, which is the next installment in our series on how to build relationships in business. Number 10, follow up consistently. All right. Most of the forcing folks is in the follow up. So make sure you have a process for following up with people so that you remember them and they remember you. Number 11, have something that other people want or need. In other words, you're reaching out to people, unless you have a personal friendship with them, have a reason to reach out to them because you have this going on or that going on, whatever the situation may be. Number 12, personalized communication. World of cold communication to the masses will always exist. But when you make personalized communication, because so many people are using mass communication, when you personalize, you stand out by using the law of contrast. You're doing something that most people won't do. And people understand inherently that takes more time to do, and people appreciate that. So I would suggest you start using it. Tomorrow, we'll go into the 5th part of our series here on how to build relationships in business. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. If you would like to have me as your direct coach and you want to learn how to apply this stuff in your business and in your life and start using it immediately, because I will walk you through exactly how I do it, and I will show you strategically exactly how you need to use it in your way for your business and your situation with your personality. That's all at WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all